Hello everyone and welcome back to another average review. Today we're gonna be reviewing a fittingly spooky Halloween review with the Neca Conjuring 2 Crooked Man figure. Now, I'd like to preface this by saying that I haven't seen the Conjuring movies, so I did a bit of research on who the Crooked Man is so that I wouldn't mess up in this review. Essentially, the most basic summary I can give is that the Crooked Man is a form that the demon Valak takes on in the movie The Conjuring 2. In other films in the Conjuring universe, like The Nun, Valak takes on the form of, well, the Nun. But moving past that, we can see that the packaging is very nice. On the front, we can see the Conjuring 2 logo, Crooked Man's name, and a nice shadowy image of the Crooked Man. On the side, we can see the Conjuring 2 logo and also the Neca and Real Toys logo, along with some nice speckled pieces in the background. On the back, we can see, once again, Conjuring 2 logo and some very, very nice looking figure photography of the Crooked Man figure and a bunch of its accessories. Neca does a really great job with this figure photography on the side, and also the Crooked Man's little rhyme right down here, along with the accessories included. Speaking of the accessories, you can open up this front flap to see the figure and its accessories inside. I'd like to mention that the foot popped off while it's in the packaging. Not broken, mind you, just sort of popped off. But also on the inside flap, we can see another really nice image of the Crooked Man figure. So overall, I think Neca has some of the best ever packaging just out of any figure company. But, I don't really care about it since it's just packaging. What I'm really here for is the figure itself, so, let's get him out. Getting the figure out of the packaging, he's got some very, very nice sculpted details. You can see his horrific looking face hat combo along with the little glasses. I mean, just look at the detail on his mouth and those horrible, horrible teeth. And the hat is removable so that you can see his creepy, creepy face underneath. I mean, that is horrifying. Now, the rest of his body is very, very weird looking. He's so slender, and it's been sculpted very well. You can see all the fabric wrinkles on his suit. I really like all the details of the pinstripes going down his tuxedo and jacket. It looks very nice, and I really like the shade of red. You can see how creepy and thin and spindly his fingers are, along with, how big his hands look. Legs, once again, very weird, very creepy. He's got some very nice looking shoes, though, for a horrible monstrosity demon. He's very well dressed, and, all that detail is still right there on the back. It's very, very nice. Looking at this thing kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. So, I mean, hey, Neca did a really great job in sculpting this Conjuring 2 character. Now, moving on to articulation, and I need to say, I'm going to have to be very, very, very careful with this guy for two reasons. One, Neca figures are fairly fragile. You gotta be super light with them. They're not like a Marvel Legends, And two, look at how thin this guy's limbs are. Those two combined, this guy is just inevitably gonna break if I put too much pressure on it. So I'm gonna be very light. He's got a joint in the head and I believe in the neck, which lets him look up this far and down this far. He gets a bit of tilt side to side and spins all the way around. His arms, well, they do get swivel, but I'm not getting much, and I'm not gonna push it. Although they do raise up this high, which is a little under 90 degrees. He's got double jointed elbows with, of course, a perfect bend because, how thin they are. And they also get swivel at the upper arm and the lower arm. His hands can spin around and hinge backwards and forwards. I don't know if it's a ball joint at the waist or like a diaphragm joint, but he does get turn at the torso, but not really any forward and back. His legs do get a bit of kick forward and a little bit of split, but not that much. They do get a single hinge and swivel side to side. And he's got ball-jointed feet, which get a bit of... Well, they like to pop off, but they get forward, back, side to side, and they can spin around. Luckily, that didn't break, and nothing broke during the articulation segment. So yeah, in conclusion, he's got a fair bit of articulation, not the most dynamic, but most of all, be careful with him. He's definitely fragile. Now, the comparison section is going to be very, very, very short today, since I don't really have any figures that fit with this guy. Starting off, we have the standard male and female figures I use for these comparisons, the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man Spinneret, and fittingly, the Crooked Man is a lot taller and also more slender than both of them. The only other non-broken NECA figure I have, because, as I've mentioned, they're pretty fragile, is this Shin Godzilla from NECA, and I mean, just like the Crooked Man, it's a horrifying and also really amazing sculpt. Now, because of his massive tail, I actually have to display this guy, or for this video, have him sideways, since if I had him standing to the back, he'd just be right in front of the camera. For two 7-inch figures not from NECA, though, we have the DC Essentials Flash on the left, and the McFarlane DC Multiverse Nightfall Batman on the right. Although, as is tradition on this series, here's the NECA Conjuring 2 Crooked Man with Hit Monkey and Goliath. Also, it took me until now to realize it would probably be a good idea to put him on a figure stand. Just shows the type of genius you're working with on this channel. Now, in terms of accessories, as is tradition with NECA figures, he comes with a boatload. 2 alternate heads. This one is a simple closed smile, still creepy, but not as creepy as this one, for example. But, if you're wondering how it looks with the removable hat, here you go. But the best alternate head is this open smiling head. I mean, just horrific. I mean, you got all the details in the teeth from, you know, the more snarling, angry head right here. And in fact, there is another difference besides, obviously, their facial expression. It's hard to tell, at least on camera. But the more angry head has some dirty black marks on his bottom lip. Meanwhile, the smiling head doesn't. I don't know if that's on purpose or is just a quality control issue, but I don't know. I think it's interesting to note. And this head might even be more horrifying when you put on the hat. I don't know, maybe not, maybe so. And this alternate head goes very well with a scene-specific accessory of this Zoetrope. I mean, look at all the detail on the outside, you know, these little painted details on the buttons and this gold plaque right here. And there's even the little animated stills of the Crooked Man on the inside. I mean, that is attention to detail. And also this crank turns and this part spins, which is a really nice touch. Now, what does a crooked man need on a rainy day? Why, a crooked umbrella! And I'd like to mention how nice this umbrella has been painted and sculpted, just like with the entire rest of the figure. I mean, look at all the bends and, you know, details in the umbrella. It's got, like, a bit of a rough texture. It's not as noticeable on camera, but, like, if you have this thing in person, you know, it's pretty rough. The wood handle, very nice. I mean, just look at that. That is amazing. And he does come with this gripping hand right here, the super tight gripping hand, where if you... sorry, didn't mean to stab you in the eye, Crooked Man, jeez. If you put the hand through this handle and just let it go through, you get the hand holding the umbrella, and you can pop the hands off and pop this one on. Now, I'd like to recommend this when you're removing the hands, and also the head, to heat them up with either hot water or a blow dryer. You know, for your hair, so that the joints get a bit loose and won't immediately snap. He also comes with a pair of slightly more closed hands, but they're a bit too loose to grip the umbrella. Oh, and here's him with his umbrella and umbrella holding hand. This is probably how I'm gonna display this guy, since, I mean, it just looks nice. Well, not nice, horrific and horrifying, but you get my point. Also, I forgot to mention this in the sculpting and paint discussion, but the open hands have these nice blue highlights in the hand and fingers, which certainly adds the sort of horrific pale skin-like look. Now, in terms of the price, he retailed for around $38. It's expensive, but if you find him for that price, I'd say it's worth it if you either just like how he looks or you're a fan of the Conjuring movies. But I found him for $20 at a half-off store, which is essentially where a bunch of unsold inventory goes to die. Or, you know, be sold for half off. And for that price, he is more than worth it. So, even though I know, well, not very much about the Conjuring movies, I'm still a big fan of this figure, and I'm going to give him an, in my opinion, worthy 9 out of 10. My only real issue is how fragile he seems, but there's not much Neca could really do to fix that due to this guy's design. And also, hey, Neca figures aren't meant to be toys, they're collectibles. They aren't designed with children in mind, so, you know, that's sort of to be expected. But, hey, if you made it this far into the video, well, then have a terrifying day, 'cause you deserve it. Happy very early Halloween.